in the NBA. So you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, OKC, best team in the league, can't be stopped. Timberwolves, OKC is blowing them out. This, at one point, OKC led by as many as 25. SGA knocks that down. He had 39. But then Tim Legler, with Anthony Edwards on the bench, the Timberwolves just mount a crazy comeback.
Yeah, look, give them credit because they kept playing, and a lot of teams wouldn't have. They probably would have emptied their bench with 3:40 to go. They kept playing, but Oklahoma City greatly contributes to it. Too many fouls, stagnant offensively, and then just a silly play by Alex Caruso right there that allows them to tie the game late.
16-0 run with Anthony Edwards on the bench. The game goes to overtime. OKC down 1. Caruso. Yes, OKC now back up 1 again, but with 30 seconds remaining in the OT and Minnesota down by 1. Look at this crazy sequence, Legs. How many opportunities can you get?
I don't know how Lou Dort comes away with that clean, but then he's unaware as he tries to head up the floor, loses it. Put back here by Reed, and he gets fouled on that.
And makes the foul shots. T-Wolves up by 1, 20 seconds to go. SGA, remember I mentioned Anthony Edwards didn't play the end of regulation? Look at the defense.
It's incredible because he sat out the end of regulation and he stayed with it mentally, and he makes one of the more impactful defensive plays he's made in his career. This is just incredible weak side timing to save the game.
I'm the presumptive MVP, so now it's a 3-point game, and here's SGA to tie it, and it's no good, and oh my God, Minnesota won. They were down, as I mentioned, as many as 25 points and came all the way back on the road to win. Ant winds up with 17 and 13, but his teammates absolutely won this game for him. I mentioned SGA had the 39, but that's a bad loss. OKC, look, still very much in control of the Western Conference. 8 games clear, 8.5 now as we see, of the next closest team. Rest is sort of bunched up near the top. But pay attention in that 4 spot to the Lakers. They were in 7th place on January 14th. They're 14 and 4 since. They're just 3 games out of the 2 spot. And in case you missed it, Stephen A. had this to say about the Lakers coming off a 23-point win over Denver over the weekend.
I can't front. The Lakers looked marvelous.
When JJ first arrived, we knew it was an upgrade from Darvin Ham offensively, but downgrade defensively. Now we're seeing the Lakers come along defensively in a very, very impressive fashion. And if that continues, oh, there's no telling what they could do in the West. They can make some noise. So I got to stand down, Shay. I got to look at the Los Angeles Lakers and go like this. Yo, these brothers got a chance. They got a chance to legitimately win the West.
Holy smoke. So here we go. The Thunder blow a huge lead and lose. The Lakers have the spotlight game maybe so far of the season with the Mavericks coming into town. Luka against Dallas. Is Stephen A. right?
He's not right yet, but I love that he channeled the Fernando.
Yeah.
They look
marvelous.
You look marvelous. But they do right now. They did Saturday. They caught everybody's attention. And now, as they already were a compelling watch for the rest of the season just because of the Luka-LeBron dynamic. But now it becomes a matchup thing. And how do they look against certain matchups? You know what I'm looking for, Legs? I am looking forward to seeing J.J. Redick in a playoff series coach. Because if he put that kind of maniacal preparation into that game against Denver, and Denver had been a team, and that place in Denver had been a house of horrors for this Laker team when Anthony Davis was there, and he was like, no, we're going to find a way to win and beat this team. I can't wait to see him coach a 7-game series.
Well, I learned pretty quickly in all the work I was doing with JJ and the collaboration with him on different things, just talking the game. Very few people see all 10 players at the same time like JJ and the details that he's going to see in live action, in practice, much less in a film session when you're dialed into one team, game after game, making those kinds of adjustments. Very few people are going to be able to see all of that and incorporate that and communicate that the way that J.J. Redick can.
And I don't want to overreact. They play 82 of these games over the course of a season. What reaction should we have to OKC comfortably in front at home by 25 points and losing a game last night that they lose there? People are looking for ways to suggest they are not invincible or whatever it is. Should we go that far coming off last night?
It's a terrible loss. Make no mistake about it. But it's one night. It's one game. And it actually is going to be the best thing that's going to happen to Oklahoma City. I'm telling you right now. And you heard Shai talk about it after the game. This is a lesson in not taking your foot off the gas in a game. Because this was, sure, Minnesota kept playing. They played hard. A lot of this was Oklahoma City's stagnancy offensively, taking too many threes, which is not in their wheelhouse. They took a ton of threes, and Minnesota went to this sort of hybrid 2-2-1 zone where they were two guys extended, trapping Shea almost at half court, making him give it up early. So I will say that's something that Mark Daigneault has seen for the first time, and he's probably going, wait a second, this was interesting. They took the ball out of Shea's hands. We ended up with a lot of wing threes. That's not our strength. And it allowed them to come back. So this actually could help Oklahoma City down the stretch. Look, they clearly have been the best team in the Western Conference. Now there's teams coming for them. And the question is, can you narrow the gap with them in time? By the time you get there, clearly the Lakers are one of those teams that are in that conversation. I'm not worried about one blown lead at home in a back-to-back situation against the same opponent. I'm just not.
I'm always looking for angles, though, for a team. What's the weakness? What can we find? And I think maybe that's something that was exploited there a little bit that you'll watch. And also for Shea, close out that game and still get the win, and he couldn't do it. That was a great play by Anthony Edwards, but there were a couple other times he had the ball where there was nowhere for him to go. They bottled him up. And there's always that, hey, maybe we found something here, and keep an eye on this when you get a matchup in the playoffs.
I also am fascinated by the fact that we chose the word impenetrable. Of all the different things, of all the different ways we could have described what the Thunder might not be as a result of last night, we went with, you can't penetrate them? Inevitable, I think was the word. Something like that, one way or another. And look, it's a good word. It tells the story. I understand. I just think it's a fascinating choice.
I had my amazing moments in Dallas. At some point, I knew this was going to happen. It's the Lakers. It's one of the best clubs in history.
Oh, what a pass! Oh, Doncic!
Our goal is to win championship.
That's good!
That's our only goal.
It was the trade that stunned the world, and tonight was the first night that we circled on the calendar. Luka versus the Mavs. We know Dallas is banged up almost beyond recognition, but still a fascinating matchup. And Legs, I gave you a homework assignment. I said, I want to see what Luka and LeBron look like on the floor together.
Yeah, and offensively, what Luka brings to the table and how special he is and unique in his ability to read defenses on the weak side. So we start here, and he's going to call over Jackson Hayes. And look, right off the bat, most guys are not going to take the ball down the sideline because it's clearly very crowded over there. There's 3 defenders over there. There's 2 teammates. So you have 6 guys in a very tight window. No problem. That's exactly what Luka wants to do. And the reason he wants to do that, he wants to keep Jokic on this side of the floor because he knows if he can get it to the weak side, now they're going to have to make some decisions over here with these 2 defenders. So as he goes, right here, you can already see, look at Luka's eyes. You know what he's looking at? He's looking dead at Michael Porter Jr., and then he's looking at LeBron James. He's already looking at that, and look at the size around him, and you think, that's a tough angle. How's he going to make this pass? He knows right now Jackson Hayes on this hard dive is going to make Michael Porter Jr. pick him up. That means that on top, Aaron Gordon Jr. is going to have to be the guy to close out if he can get this ball to here on a rope. And if Aaron Gordon Jr. is closing out from the top side, that means LeBron James has a free drive to the rim. And that's exactly what Luka does. And there's 3 guys in the league can make this pass, and they're all playing in this game. LeBron, Luka, and Jokic. And here it is. Ball goes to the other side on a rope. Aaron Gordon closes from the top side. LeBron's got the entire baseline drive. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Why I said to you yesterday on this show, why does LeBron need to be off the ball, Luka on it? Because the off-ball guy has to either run or cut.
Right.
LeBron likes doing those things. Luka, not so much. He wants to deliver the basketball. LeBron can play weak side now against closeout defenders. A whole different scenario than what he's used to.
LeBron actually used a football analogy. He's a quarterback, I'm a receiver. That's how they go. Now, what are we going to get from Luka tonight? Let's put the number up here. The over-under at ESPN Bet is 31.5. That is a significant number, one of the highest point totals for Luka this year. His highest was back in November at 33.5. He had 32 against the Nuggets on Saturday. So let's ask the question the way we like to ask it, Alan. Is tonight going to be a scorched earth night? Will revenge be named Luka Doncic against the Mavericks tonight?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under, not because I don't think he's going to have a good game. I think you take the under because, number one, Jason Kidd knows Luka really well, and so do the rest of that Mavs team. They're not going to let him get off. They're going to do everything they can to control him. They saw the tape from that Denver game. They know what to see. So that's why I don't think this is going to be a scorched earth game. But wouldn't you love to see him, Legs, get on a heater and then all of a sudden turn to Jason Kidd, rip up his jersey, show a 4-pack. We know it's not 6, but a 4. And then just say to him, like, you didn't want me? Like, I'd love to get that kind of drama. But remember, they still have to go to Dallas, and I think that's the game you'll see a little more drama.
I completely disagree.
Okay.
I think Luka's going to go nuts tonight. I mean, he was so upset by this. I was reading the stuff of Dirk had to go there for his first game because he wanted to sort of support him a little bit. I think that Luka is going to want, and the Lakers are going to want him to go nuts. I would pound the over on that.
I'm in the middle between you guys. I think that's his mentality. But I think I'm going to lean more toward Allen just because it's so recent and he's just getting his form back, right? Now, look, nobody in the league heat checks themselves out of layup lines the way Luka does. Okay, I mean, he immediately, usually you got to make 3 shots before you heat check. He heat checks the first trip down the floor. Right. And that's one thing, I'll give him credit for that. I admire that about him, actually. So I think he does sort of, test the water early. He bangs a couple of threes in the first couple of minutes, then it might be all bets off. I'm going to go ahead and try to embarrass these guys if I can. I think, though, talk about scorched earth, I think tonight he pours the gasoline. He lights the match in Dallas in April.
Yep.
That's the night. And by the way, could he have a better running mate than a guy that's been through this exact scenario?
Sure.
Going back to Cleveland, that first game after he went to Miami, totally different circumstances. That was a lot of hatred directed at him from the home crowd because he abandoned them. This is going to be an odd situation in Dallas in April because they're going to probably be cheering all of his baskets on that home court. It's going to be an unusual scenario. That's the night he tries to go for 50. I don't know that it happens tonight.
That crowd's going to be so conflicted in Dallas. And by the way, that game could have a lot riding on it when it comes to positioning in the Western Conference. Even though it's April, you just never know the importance of that game. But Legs, as a player, if you go into the game like what Greeny's saying, and I get it, because I want to see that. But as a player, if you go into the game with that mentality, it usually does work against you, right?
Oh,
if you go in thinking I'm lighting it up,
and
they're going to do whatever they can to make sure he doesn't.
Especially at a time when the Lakers are trying to get this thing together, right? They're on the tracks playing well. You don't even want to be distracted by JJ gets it. But at the same time, his preference would be, hey, play well and let's just win. Let's not get off the rails here trying to make this about Luka tonight. I think that would be a mistake on the part of the Lakers. But again, it's really on Luka. He's going to take some deep threes early. Mm-hmm. And if he hits those, it might change the way he approaches the night.
Did I miss a meeting? Didn't the Mavericks just lose by 40 at Golden State? I mean, you think the Lakers are worried about winning this game?
No, but here's the
Mavericks are playing nobody.
Yeah, but also to your point, so they get up 25-30 in the first half. Well, Luka's not going to stay in the game in the second half. He's not going to, not in that scenario. You know what Luka wants more than anything? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have any animus toward Anthony Davis. Don't you think he'd much rather get a ball screen and a switch with Anthony Davis on him in Dallas, okay, to remind people?
This is your king?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think he would hey, Hembo, what is the biggest point total that Luka has had this year? That's what
45,
I want to know. What was it?
It was 45.
45. So now I will predict he goes for 46. Let's play Believe It or Not. Let's go back to those Warriors I just mentioned briefly. Legs. If I said Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler can lead the Warriors on a deep playoff run, we'll define that as winning 2 series. You believe it or not?
I believe it because I think right now there's a group of teams that are capable of doing that. A lot of it's going to tend to matchups and seeding, but look, there's no doubt there's a totally different energy and a belief about this team. And Jimmy Butler also tangibly gives them something in their offense they desperately needed. The ability to get to the line, slow the game down, set up their defense.
Agree?
The Butler bump. I mean, we've seen it. Minnesota broke a 13-year playoff drought when they traded for him. Miami got the 2 finals. I mean, everywhere he's gone, you have seen the bump. Philly, by the way, the Sixers, when he got there, got to a Game 7 against the eventual champions on a bad bounce. That's what he does when he first gets to a team. That's what you can expect.
Next one, Hahn, is for you. If someone were to say the Celtics, despite being well behind Cleveland in the standings, remain the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, you believe it or not?
I believe it, and it's not to be disrespectful towards the Cavaliers and what they've done. This is all about the fact that the Celtics are the defending champs, and they got to that point figuring out some of their own problems. And how about Jaylen Brown saying that we're reminding ourselves what we're doing and what we're playing for? We're playing for greatness. And then he mentioned how he's looking forward to kicking a bunch of teams' butts.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
That tells you that they're locked in right now.
I think you have to believe it because they were inarguably the best team in the league a year ago. They dominated the league. They won the finals relatively easily. now they're playing their best basketball of the season. I think it was difficult for them to have that same sort of hunger and desperation that they had last year in the regular season. You're seeing it now, and as a result, people still think this is the most complete team in the East.
I think that the big X factor in all this is the health of Porzingis, right?
No doubt.
Last year they lose Porzingis, they're still able to make it there. With Porzingis, they're the best team in the league.
And they don't win a title this year unless all of those guys are healthy at the right time. Last year they didn't get the league's best punch, I don't believe. They'll get that this year, and the Cavs represent that. So if they're not fully healthy in a potential conference final matchup with Cleveland, Cleveland can absolutely get to the finals.
I'm agreeing with you. And you don't expect that Brown or Tatum or one of them would get hurt, but Porzingis, that's always a concern with him. One more for you quickly, Legs. If I were to say the Knicks, despite how good their record is, look closer to a first-round exit than an NBA Finals, do you believe that or not?
I absolutely believe that. Just because, look, who knows who they're going to get in the first round. I mean, we could potentially end up with a Milwaukee first-round series, something like that. Because the bottom line is, I don't think they're capable of beating Cleveland or New York.
Or Boston.
I'm sorry, or Boston.
Right.
If they're capable of beating either one of those teams, well, then that tells you right there they're not close to the finals, and potentially a first-round series could be problematic.
Words hurt, Legs. Words hurt.
No, but you cover the Knicks closely, and you know. And look, I mean, we've seen it. They're really, really good, except when they play the really, really good teams.
Yeah, and that's obvious. Now, Wendy said something earlier in the season that I took note of, and I think he's kind of right when he said that the Knicks where they are this season is like where the Suns were last year when they got KD and Beal. It's too soon. There wasn't enough depth and all that stuff. What I worry about is the Knicks next season or this season's Suns. You don't want to see that where it's not working and it's clear. So you got to watch this, because if this fizzles, the front office is going to have to rethink everything they did with this roster.
That said, let me flip around the question here. The Knicks also feel to me, watching it, that they are a team that the ball bounces their way a couple of times. They get a break here or there. I could see them being I guess what I'm trying to say is I understand the way we framed the question. They are probably likelier to be a first-round exit than to get to the finals. But I don't expect them to lose in the first round, and I expect them to actually give a better fight to Boston or Cleveland in the second round than it looks like they would based on this week.
I completely agree with that. So I take the questions literally.
Right.
You
No, I understand.
A very literal,
specific
question
yes.
to me, because I don't think they can beat either of those teams, which means that second round in conference, that means they're closer to a first-round exit. That's how I took the question. But I agree. Listen, the bottom line is they're the sixth-ranked offensive team in the league. That's going to win a lot of games. And even in the playoffs, nights, they're going to click. That's going to be enough to win games. The problem is the teams they're trying to get past are not only elite offensive teams, they're significantly better defensive teams. And you're not going to change that with the Knicks and their personnel. There's only so much you can do with what they have defensively against those two
Only
teams.
Mitchell Robinson can change that if he can stay healthy. That's the one thing to watch by the end of March is if he's healthy and in the lineup and in the rotation, he does impact offensive rebounding and pick and roll defense, which is the two weaknesses.